You know, there's a book out there by David Goggins, great book, Can't Hurt Me. Talk about mental toughness. That guy epitomizes mental toughness. Well, this video is going to be how do we create or help develop mental toughness, resilience in youth sports. That's what we'll be covering next. We need to be talking about what we really mean when we talk about mental toughness, resilience. What is it? How do you go about developing it? Things like visualization, self-talk, and your mindset and the beliefs that you have. All those things are going to be factoring in. So how do we go about building that in young athletes? That is exactly what we'll be covering in this video. Mental toughness is about perseverance. It's about you keep going after a setback. You have in mind something that you want, that you have a passion for, you're interested in. And no matter what roadblock comes up, what setback you have, you experience, you keep pushing forward, right? It's all these mantras that I grew up hearing, right, is winners don't quit and quitters never win. That sort of kind of saying, if at first you don't succeed, try again. Those were kind of ingrained to me growing up as a boy because people knew that's what you wanted to encourage, right? Perseverance. You keep going. You don't quit on yourself. Whatever happens to you, it's a life lesson. You need to move on. That's what we're talking when we talk about resilience and stick-to-itiveness is you are going to be determined to get to that goal. One of the great classic examples is Michael Jordan, right? After he got cut from his high school basketball team, it's like, that's not going to happen to me again. So rather than give up and beat up himself, right? He went to work and he worked that much harder. And well, the rest is stuff of legend, right? That is the kind of attitude that you want to develop in young athletes because it carries over throughout every aspect of their life. One of the great tools in building mental toughness is the power of visualization. But it's important to remember, so listen carefully, not all visualization is the same. You can visualize something you believe to be true, that you are capable of doing, and you can believe something you aren't sure whether you're capable of. And you have visual images of each of those. And the only way your brain can tell the difference between the one that I'm not so sure I'm capable of that, and the one, oh yeah, I know I absolutely can do that, is it has to represent those differently. It codes them differently. That's usually something we call submodalities. Like, is the image in color or black and white? Is it a movie? Is it a still frame? Is it a series of slides? Is there a border around it? How far, how close, how big? All these kind of characteristics of the image, there's going to be some differences between something you believe absolutely know to be true and something you doubt. Now, if you are visualizing what you want to happen, oh yeah, I want this to happen, but like you doubt it, it's not going to matter, right? Like it's just visualizing that over and over isn't going to help you get there because you are coding it as something you aren't sure you can do. So yeah, I'm going to visualize myself making that free throw with no time left on the clock and winning the championship. But you're visualizing it like something you doubt. You're going to doubt whether that happens. So it's important to understand not all visualization is the same. The stories we tell ourselves matter, right? The stories we're telling ourselves about our ability, what can happen, the fantasies that we run in our mind, the self-talk that we have matter, right? Those stories, if you aren't saying them with conviction that you're telling yourself, you aren't saying it in a way that you believe it to be true, that you are programming it into yourself. Very similar to the visualization component, right? How you talk to yourself matters. Not just what you say. Of course, that matters. But how you say it matters. Saying it with conviction matters. When you say it with the body language, with the swag that you need to have, your whole being part of it matters, right? So yes, words matter. Absolutely. Make sure you're choosing the right words, strong words, positive words. And when you say it to yourself, you got to be saying it with that tone and that conviction and that body language of like, this is just the way it is. It's absolutely true. So telling yourself the stories and using positive affirmations, saying them with conviction, matter and powerful. And you need to do it regularly over and over, particularly if you've had a bad experience, because to override like a negative that you've heard or said to yourself, you need 3 to 5 positives said over and over with conviction. So along with visualization, that self-talk, it's important to be positive and saying things with conviction. One of the things that we can be trying to do is 2 things here that can be in some ways viewed as diametrically opposed, but yet they can really work together. What is that? One, it's the idea of trying to get people in a success loop so they're feeling good about what they are. But 2 is pushing yourself to a limit where you fail. So how does that work together? All right. One is when everybody is, quote, failing, there's it's not like, oh no, I failed and everybody else succeeded, so I'm thinking bad things about myself, right? We've pushed everybody to a limit to find out, all right, how far can we go, and then push beyond that. So let me kind of talk in terms of like what some of the Navy SEALs do and the training that they give to other people. For example, David Goggins, who's done these crazy like marathons and ultra marathons, and he went through Hell Week twice for the Navy SEALs. You should be reading his story. Anyways, he talks about that first barrier you reach, right? You're really only at 40% of your potential. It's purely mental, right? So if you're doing something athletically with a team and you're trying to push beyond it, that barrier that was where most people are going to go, oh, I can't go anymore, that's purely mental, right? You've really only reached 40% of what you're physically capable of. Your brain is telling you it's time to quit, right? Lessons like that and trying to push people beyond that can be a powerful moment to keep raising that level of resilience, right? Of that mental toughness. Understanding that with a setback, with a failure, you're actually being successful. And that's an important thing to mention because you learn most and quickest after experiencing a failure. So you can use that to keep people in a success loop by helping them understand that you just learned more than you would have learned if you had made it through, which is a totally true statement. So understanding that is how you can put together that idea of pushing to the limit in order to fail, in order to create longer term success. You know, having a mantra, we talked about that a little bit earlier. It can be a powerful thing to kind of push you going. One of my favorite ones that Mark Devine talked about, he's a former Navy SEAL, was when they were going through Hell Week and all, it was finish today, quit tomorrow. They get up in the morning, finish today, quit tomorrow. Well, tomorrow never comes. That can be a powerful mantra. You find mantras that can use you to break through certain barriers. I have a very good friend who ran a 150-mile road race in the Sahara Desert, not road race, but an ultra endurance marathon. He's done these things. Mantras are powerful things when you hit that, where you think that's it, I can't go any further. It's things like pain is a purifier, anything like that that can help you is important to utilize, and you build those into your habit, into your repertoire. So when you think you've reached the block, you just break through it. As I talk about this whole thing with mental toughness, it's important to kind of get in mind how far you want to push that for yourself, right? These principles I talked about will help you push it as far as you feel you need to develop. And I am like nowhere near the league of a David Goggins or even my friend to go run a 150-mile race through the Sahara Desert, right? It's just not, I won't go that far, but I don't need to go that far. I know the principles necessary. If I had to do that, I could probably force myself to do that because of the principles that we talked about. So anyways, I just wanted to throw that out there. I encourage you to subscribe to this channel. You might be particularly interested in the video, how to encourage teamwork in youth sports. So check that out today.